everyone. It is Monday, and we are back for another episode of Where's Your Heart? Championing vulnerability as a core human strength. Thank you for joining us again. Hello, Royce.
And before we even go live, look at this. Nicola's on here for it. Vivian, wash hands. I How did you know that I used that music to go to the bathroom? Like, that's my potty break before the show. Just saying.
I'm gonna point out the brightness of these headphones today. My son took my headphones to work, and so I'm using my daughter's, who for Christmas wanted pink headphones, and they are really pink.
I mean, there it is. It's gorgeous.
Oh man, would talk about having color. Goodness. I like Vivian said that was supposed to be clapping.
Oh my gosh.
That was supposed to be clapping. She's like, wash hands.
All right, Vivian's another person we have to convince to come on the show, but I don't know how we do it yet. We'll talk.
Well, when she comes on, we'll do this.
Yes, we will wash hands and clap them at the same time. Oh my God. Oh, yeah. Okay, so Nicola says they sound excellent and look great. I kind of want to steal those headphones and add glitter and maybe ears.
Yeah, see, because that's what it needs. Bedazzling. To add to the pinkness.
I also want to point out, she mentioned it like in passing. The voice reproduction on those headphones is actually...
So they're essentially gamer headphones. That's what she wanted.
What did I say about gamer headphones?
I know you said that, but I am sorry. I am getting ones that are black. I was like, you got to work with what you got, but I'm not working with this forever. This is not.
And then we'll have to steal them and bedazzle them. That's the solution.
and Ted would like to know what the sound of one hand washing sounds like.
I'm not sure I want to know.
It must be the same as one hand clapping.
I'm pretty sure it's more like masturbating. That's where my brain went.
Oh, I needed the laughs today.
Yeah, you're not the only one, my friend. Holy crap, has it been a... Yep.
Yes, it has.
It has. All right.
Oh, goodness.
So I think I promised to carry vulnerability, or no, gratitude? What the fuck am I?
Your gratitude, yeah.
I'm carrying gratitude today, and
yes.
I just realized I didn't think about it ahead of the show. Okay, well, let's just throw it right there. This is my first full functional day. Like, I think I had 8 hours of functionality today for the first time in a week. So that felt good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't do much with it, but like... caught up on things and just generally didn't feel like a piece of shit, which was, I'll take it.
That's good.
You know,
that's a good day.
It's a lot better than the getting ready to count Tylenol that I was in last week. So,
woo, bad. Royce just went dark.
No, that's where my brain goes. It's not good. So yeah, glad to be here. And I'm genuinely glad for this show, this topic today. This one, this is a fun, not fun. I'm really looking forward to it. Oh God, Nicola.
Peanut Butter Avengers.
No, Peanut Gallery Avengers.
Gallery, because I was like, see, that makes more sense. I swear I read Peanut Butter. I was like, is that a brother-sister thing? Is that what that is? Like,
and she knows Vivian, so the Peanut Gallery is assembling, and Team Rocket Me. I don't know who you are yet, but we take them small gratitudes. Amen. Yeah,
absolutely.
Like a day when I can actually feel pleasure that's a day. I'll take it. You know.
That's precisely why I had you do gratitude today, because I am not feeling that. I feel like I'm where you're at.
All right, so let's chew on this, because you and I threw some texts back and forth on this earlier today. Go.
I kind of been feeling at a low for a while, and 3 years ago, I really just felt like I could not watch the news. I felt that it did more damage for me to watch it than to, because, being in the entertainment business, I'm thinking, well, you have to be caught up on current events, yada, yada, yada. Um, but there was just something about listening to the news that just, I don't see how it helps anyone
Yeah.
nowadays. And of course, right now they were doing the closing arguments today, for the whole George Floyd case. And it's funny that I say the George Floyd trial,
Yep.
because that's what I feel like it is. It's not the officer's trial. The fact that this man was already prosecuted after his death, that people were looking into his history, if he was, if he had a record, if he was a drug user, just looking into all this stuff to validate having a knee put on his neck for more than 9 minutes.
Yeah.
That is what I can't understand. And I kind of, I felt like, especially with the other shootings happening, police officers that can't tell a damn difference from a taser and a gun, and still having people come out on social media and say, well, accidents happen, but this guy, he had a warrant out for his arrest, and he resisted and he didn't. And I'm just like, when the hell did traffic stops become death sentences? And that it's okay to valid, like, I just am done. I'm done. I am at a point that I kind of, that whole like hope for humanity, kind of getting it, and like making a change. Like, I'm not feeling that. I'm
Yeah.
not feeling that. I literally wrote a Facebook post to say that, unless it's like business related, if it's anything dealing with any of my, businesses, projects, anything like that, you'll see posts like that. But it does so much mental damage, to see that crap every freaking day. And just dealing with not only being a black woman in this country and being told by people that if you just comply, then none of this would be happening. And then having friends who are white that I'm being told that I shouldn't trust. And I've known them for years and they have had my back constantly, and just being told, well, you shouldn't trust them because they're white. And it's just, and just knowing that there are some people, my friend, who he lived in Wisconsin for a while and was harassed daily by, it's a highly black populated area, and they made it clear that the reason they were getting on him was because he was white. But somehow I'm being told, well, that's just, that you can't be upset about that. At least now he knows how we feel. And I'm just like, when do we start seeing like the empathy and sympathy that humanity is supposed to have? Like, I'm not feeling real happy with humanity right now. And so yeah, I made the decision that I'm not engaging anymore. And I can't be positive anymore. I can't be like, oh well, if you just give people a chance, and I'm sure if we give them more time. But I just feel like there are just some situations that people, there should just be common sense rules. I just, and I don't know, I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't get it. The fact that people can just sit and not think, if we, let's just put aside race. Let's put aside race for a moment and just think, okay, people come back with arguments about how, well, white people get shot more than blacks. Okay, let's put that aside. Should they be getting shot? Should anybody be getting shot by cops? No? Okay,
Should
let's start
anybody be
there.
getting shot? Period. Like
Exactly.
that's the like. Yeah. Anyway.
So I'm like, okay, if your whole thing is, let's put aside political, let's put aside race, can we at least get to a place that you can say there's something wrong if a traffic stop ends in somebody's death
Yeah.
repeatedly? there is something wrong. And if you can't even say that, I just that's the hope I'm just losing right now. That's the hope I'm losing right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not feeling a lot of gratitude today. I'm feeling a lot of anger, and I honestly, I almost was going to text you and just be like, could you just run the show? Could you run the show today? Because I mean, man, this whole thing about vulnerability just kicks my ass some days. Like, and then to be on a show that's the theme. Mm.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, I'm just some days you just can't be happy go lucky and just think, oh, it's gonna get better. It's just gonna get better.
Yep. Yeah.
Ah.
And at the same time, I want to thank you for choosing to talk about all that, because it's pretty rare that I hear the kind of complexity to this issue that I'm hearing from you. And I really deeply appreciate your willingness to do that. Especially like our show's pretty fucking white today. Um, like
Well, it's funny. Like it's funny that we even have to think that. It's like, why can't it just be on the topic? Why can't we? I'm just. I
because
mean, I I
you know
I
what?
I I know we need there to be acknowledgement that there is a racism problem in this country,
Yeah.
and I think the show does that. But I really needed to get to a point that it's just let's can we just focus on some similarities? Can we just focus on that? I can relate on a person's level of their pain, whether
Mm.
they're black, white, gay, straight. That is just everybody has their struggle. And just acknowledge that they have a struggle, and nobody's struggle is bigger than anybody else's.
Yeah,
Like
the
I just
oppression Olympics means everyone loses. Let's
yeah.
be real fucking clear about
Ugh.
that. I, I'm mixed on this one, because like I deeply appreciate what you're saying there. I also like I have to acknowledge that one of the like most interesting and like provocative parts about our relationship is also our differences.
Mhm.
Um, that when you and I come at something, uh, you come at it as a female coded person who often is wearing the pants. I come at it as a male coded person who often is wearing the skirt.
Yep.
Um,
Often wearing the skirt.
yeah, yeah. You come at it with a perspective of having code switched like a huge portion of your life and not having been willing to give up friends like me, which I still understand. Like, so, so I guess like,
It's like the meme I found today, and I post well a few days ago, and I posted that if you're constantly focusing on the differences, you're going to miss out on so much. You need to acknowledge the differences. The differences need
and
to be
cherish
acknowledged.
them.
Yes, but know that there's similar. The
Yeah.
reason you're still friends with is that there's similarities.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's going to be people that you meet that you're just going to be like, oh, I don't want that person in my life. That is just an energy I do not need. But that's where I was at, and I joked about it a few shows back that I didn't realize I was supposed to hate white people until like 5 years ago. I didn't know that was a thing, and I joked about it, but the further these incidents keep happening and these conversations and this environment just keeps becoming almost this toxicity. It's like it's not a joke. I'm literally at a point that if I acknowledge someone's hurt from an experience they had because they're white, I'm less than as a black person because I'm acknowledging a white person's pain. And I hate that. I hate it because I feel like there's no growth. If we are still stuck on focusing on, well, he's white, so he doesn't get to share that pain unless he's black, we are not going to get far in this country at all. And I, like I said, I like, especially you, Royce, like, you have to be like the most like educational white dude when it comes to, I know what I am. I know that I have privilege that has, that I don't have to worry about getting stopped by police for this particular thing.
But I
You
didn't
wake me
know
up.
how they answered the phone on Good Times.
Yeah, that I'm still ashamed about that.
I know, I'm
So,
sorry.
but it's, yeah, but it's this sense of, and I've told you this before, like, I appreciate that you dig so deep to educate yourself, but I am also at a point that I'm like, never, don't expect me, and I'm not,
Yeah.
and I'm at that point, and I'm not. I've been afraid to say this out loud, and it's, I mean, honestly, when we do the white guilt show, honestly, I feel like, ooh, that show's gonna be something. You do not expect me to be that person that's just gonna be like, well, yeah, you should be feeling that, yeah, every day, feel that guilt, feel it every day, because I just, what is that like? If, as long as you know where you stand, and
Yeah.
you know the knowledge you have, do something with that. But I'm not going to be that person that's putting down every race that isn't black because they they're not black. I can't. It does nothing for me. It causes me more pain and strife than it helps me in any way. And it's just, yeah, it's painful. It's painful. It's painful.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm hearing again the importance of variety, even within a community that needs solidarity,
Yeah.
um, in order to exist, really. Um, yeah. So,
So yeah, I guess
yeah.
if I had to give a once again, to say gratitude that the show is here, because not only is it, yeah, it's pushing the dialogue that vulnerability is not a weakness, but also just, we get to showcase all different kinds of people, and just
Yeah.
have an hour where for a moment you could sit there and go, I know how that person feels. I may not be like them, but I know how they feel. And
Yeah.
I'm proud, I'm proud to be a part of that. So that's pretty much how I'm looking at it now. I'm like, my energy, my focus needs to be like on positive change, not reading like the anger and nastiness of people in this country. I can't do it anymore.
Yeah. Well, so first off, I want to acknowledge I actually had taken Facebook off my phone 6 or 8 months, maybe a year. I made it a long time. And then I felt like I was missing our show's like social media stuff. And so I put it back on there. But I tried to put it in an out of way place, but now my brain still finds it. So I'm totally with you. That's one thing. The second thing, as of killings of people of color just in the last 2 weeks by cops, and the fact that somebody did a drive by on a cop car last week. Um, uh, like the okay, so there's that, and then there's the fact that there's been I don't know at this point. Somebody had a ticker running 50 mass shootings in the last 5 or 6 weeks. We've hit a boiling point with this stuff in as far as like levels of trauma go, that collectively we are broken as a country.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually excited about it as long as we all get some fucking therapy and deal with it. But like, I don't know how you do therapy to a country, but I know it's not fucking the Nazis. Um, but like, that's the big question that I have is, so how do we, because when we sit with our brokenness, that's when we get a chance to do healing that we are in charge of, instead of, the big scar tissue healing, but like healing where we're intentional about it, where we're taking care of the wound so that it heals kindly to ourselves and our future self. And I don't know what the answer is, but I think that's an important question to be asking right now.
Yeah.
So So there's all of that, and I'm glad you brought it back to the show because I think you're exactly right. Like this, that's what this is about for me too. It's a chance for us to model like what I think is probably the only way forward.
Yeah, exactly.
I
And that's
actually
what,
happen to be in the boat though that I think as white people we're gonna have to spend some years, maybe decades, just being like, no, we have privilege, yes, and I'm not gonna be bringing my pain in this room until you tell me it's okay to be human here with you, because otherwise I know that my pain has power that yours doesn't.
and the same time as a black woman, I'm gonna say that just like I agree, education needs to be done
Yeah,
in the white community, but the black community is going to have to help in the effort. They cannot. And I've said this many
yeah.
a times. You cannot complain that one community needs to do the education, but when they come to you to learn the lessons, you go, I don't have time for that. We
And
all need to be in this in order
and
for a change to happen.
and I'm gonna say again, white people, it isn't up to everybody else to educate our asses. There's enough of us who understand this that we can be doing our own fucking work. And then when we come together cross culturally, because that needs to be done too. Like there's a different type of healing that happens when you and I sit together than when I'm working with people who are just beginning to realize. Well, I mean, then the person that sat with me when I was just
Mm-hmm.
beginning to realize I had privilege. So yeah. Anyway, all right. This is a whole.
Yeah,
There's a lot of shit here, and it's
great
good.
shows in May. Pretty much that's going to cover a lot of this. But today we are talking about invisibility.
Which I love because so one of our guests is the person that suggested the topic,
Mhm.
and it was in part because we were having this conversation. I'm sitting here going, yeah, and nobody ever sees me as, I'm going to use the term Latine, which somebody introduced me to last week. TikTok, I think it was. It was a TikTok. Sarah curates my TikTok experience, thank God. Um, but this person was putting forward that the e ending on Spanish words actually is meant to be um, gender neutral. So there's
Hmm.
already actually a solution. So there's not necessarily something helpful about using the term Latinx. Now, I think there's probably a variety of opinions there, and it's worth looking at. But I love the term Latine because it already has. It's not Latino. It's not Latina.
No.
It is already gender neutral. But anyway, I talk about that, like not being totally disconnected from my Latine heritage. It's totally invisible. My pansexuality, bisexuality, totally invisible to me. Like that one was like, waking up one day and realizing, yeah, I went on a date with a man 10 years ago, and fuck, I guess that but I'm wait, if I'm bi, doesn't that mean everyone's equal? No, it doesn't. It like I don't like men and women equally. I don't like agender people equally. It's all fucking a crapshoot. Like what the fuck is it? Well, it's just attraction. Why? Like, what
Mm-hmm.
the problem is? Anyway, there's a whole fucking thing there. But the invisibility bit really got me, and that's part of the uncovered variety that I think is that I mean that I challenge white men to do their work around because most of us lost our variety to become fucking white men, so we can work in a goddamn office and think our only fucking gift to humanity is that we provide, and so much for relationships and everything else. Anyway, there's a rant there. But so okay, so all of that. So that invisibility. So there's invisibility around identity, invisibility around, you and I walk into a boardroom, who's going to be invisible? Like, yeah. So there's physical invisibility that is the result of our culture. There's identity invisibility. So I guess there's just a lot of aspects to it.
Oh yes.
So all of that goes on. And I made the comment earlier that Team Rocket Me, we take them we take them small gratitudes. They mentioned later it's
Dash.
Dash, and I in my head I was like, oh yay, Dash made it, because it's a reminder to me of the variety that this LARP called Amtgard has brought into my life. And I've been thinking a lot about that this week, preparing for this show, because it it's a LARP. We dress up in whatever the hell we want to dress up in, and we whack each other with foam bats, or we role play on the sidelines, or whatever the hell we want to do. It's a lot of fun. Good people. Well, there's a lot of good people. There's some shitbirds too, but anyway. Um, but it's the good people that keep bringing me back to this experience, and it's people like Dash, and it's the people that remind me that some of us spend the rest of the week in drag, and that our Saturday or Sunday on the field being silly together, that's like the only time we actually get to be ourselves.
Mhm.
And that's when we talk about invisibility, that's what we mean, and what it means for our little teenagers who spend, like, some of the kids out there are hardcore closet nerds, anime nerds who have no place else in their life that they get to be seen. So anyway, I'm really glad that a couple of my AmpGuard friends said yes to being on the show, and that, yeah, that we get to do this. All right. So anyway, blah, blah, blah. We ran way too long on introductions, but
Yes, we did.
we're going to be going past 6 o'clock tonight. Whatever time it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Sorry. But our first guest is not from AmpGuard world. She's from what? All right, whatever. She wears many hats, including artist, engineer, and when you can get those two together, you've met a badass, just for the record. Friend, sister, partner, queer person, middle-aged nerd. She's proud of her legendary lifelong friendships, surviving on a full-time career backstage in theater for 2 decades, and then reinventing that career in midlife, which is still a work in progress. And also proud of that one loaf of bread she baked a few weeks ago. She wants our listeners to know that having part of your experience be invisible can feel, by definition, isolating, but it's actually a very common experience, and you really aren't alone. Finding other people with similar invisibility powers to you can be really powerful. I love that that's the way she phrases this. Let's get Kellie Dunn out here.
Hey, Kellie.
Yay!
I was muted. Hello.
Perfect. That's the perfect metaphor for this thing, isn't it?
That was not on purpose, but it fits.
Well, our next guest is Alex Weber, and I hope that's Weber. So used to two B's being in Weber. He's 25 by and an inspiring voice actor and content creator. Are we all? He's incredibly proud of the chosen family he's found for himself and how much he's grown as a person in the last few years. He wants our viewers to know that you should never be afraid to be who you are. You are absolutely amazing and worthy of all the love and support in the world. So we bring out Alex. Hey!
What's up, guys?
I love it. So you mentioned chosen family, and like when I first read this on Friday, when Teresa sent it out, I was just like, that was something that struck me about you, and the way, like, I think I'd known you 5 minutes and I knew that about you.
Yeah, I have really good blood family. I do, but I've come to realize over time that the good was few and far between. And I'll talk more about that later, I'm sure. But no, it's the people that I have surrounded myself with and brought into my life that have shaped me and changed me to be a drastically different and better person all around. And that's I could not be more proud and humbled of the fact that they have let me into their lives and let me kind of use them as a support to grow off of.
Yeah. I love it. So our last guest is a trans guy, rapidly approaching middle age. We just like to call this the halfway point in the leveling process. We're getting ready for Endgame. That's what it is. But anyway, dude, Endgame Con, that's where all the good loot is. Don't laugh at me about that.
Yeah,
that's where we get the pink headphones. He does art. He cooks, does art, and is proud he's made it this far. And I'm grateful he has as well. That he took the initiative to live his truth and is learning to love himself more every day. He wants our viewers to know that being treated like everyone else, not as trans or Latinx or Jewish, isn't the same thing as being invisible, which I love that point. We got to talk more about that. There's a balance to honoring a person and their reality, pretending that their reality doesn't exist because it's hard to think about, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So let's get Dallen out here.
Hey.
You're muted.
Ha! Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Good. And I can hear everyone, so that's good.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight.
And we have a bunch of comments to catch up on. We have hi friends, and this is Annette from Aquamancer. And Nicola was clapping. I saw her clapping go up right about when Kelly was on there, so I'm assuming that was
Yes,
a
we did.
yay! And green hearts. All right, so I Dash, thank you. I love the fact that on Discord I can do all the colors of hearts, because sometimes in gaming groups that aren't really out about stuff, I do that just to rainbow the shit out of their fucking bullshit. I love it. All right, who wants to dive in on this one? Who's got something burning here?
Kelly,
y'all
Kelly, has
speak
that
up at once.
Kelly has that excited face on already, so just take point for
No.
sure.
It's my nervous face. Well, I was just gonna say, you invited a whole bunch of people on to talk about invisibility, and like, two of us showed up muted, and none of us want to talk.
I'm so glad you said
it. It's just kind of funny.
It is.
Yeah, I feel like we had a really good pre-show chat, and now everything fell out of my brain, and I don't know where to start.
So we were talking about like what. So I don't even remember what show it was, but I was ranting about being invisible on stuff, and you were like, "We should do a whole show about that." Like, what does it mean to you to be invisible?
Teresa highlighted me. I guess I have to.
Yeah, that's for you.
Okay. I think it just means either being unacknowledged or like not recognized. And sometimes that's like, we were talking before the show a little bit about, sometimes it's a choice that we make on purpose, and sometimes it's not a choice that we make for ourselves. So yeah, I think, and then there are other times where it's actually used as a technical term. Like there's several bisexual people or queer pan folks in the room today, and like bisexual invisibility is actually a term, because there's a whole, I actually wrote down a bunch of statistics about bisexuality, in case.
Oh, go. Yeah.
Okay, we'll start with that then. So like, it's this interesting thing, because I think I'm not the only person in the room here who sort of didn't come out, or even come out to myself, until like later in life. I was in my late 30s, and part of that is because like we as a culture don't recognize sort of the non-binary aspect of bisexuality. Bi people are either assumed to be straight or assumed to be gay, depending on who their partners are. Or it's like treated as a phase or experimental, that like you just don't know what you want yet, or you'll make up your mind later.
That's the
and
meme.
and so it's like kind of the invisible part of the LGB spectrum, even though statistics I looked up, according to the Williams Institute at UCLA, more than half of LGB identified people are bisexual. Like, it's the largest group under that umbrella, but like it gets kind of like ignored, or you have like organizations who say they're inclusive, but they don't include any resources for bi people. A lot of people, even who are open as bi, like famous people and such, will get ID'd as lesbian or gay or straight, because people don't believe that it's real. So there's a lot of like effects around that make it hard to even identify that in yourself sometimes, which I think is why a lot of us come to it later in life. And that can lead to higher rates of depression, lower levels of social support, lower rates of being out to people around you. I found all of this on the Bisexual Resource Center online, which is a great website. higher rates of substance abuse, including smoking and heavy drinking, higher rates of intimate partner violence. So there's like a ton of stuff around that. It's actually a super important issue. And it's crazy how, like, I'm trying not to use the word crazy. It's it's like, it's hard to wrap your brain around, like, how this is like a relatively large proportion of people, but we all feel like alone, even though we are legion. So anyway, it's just an interesting concept, and I think I love that we're all here to have this conversation in a very visible on the internet way. So I would love for someone else to start talking now, so I can stop.
Your transitions are always perfect. So I would love for somebody else to start talking. So while we're doing all this, Dar showed up with the green hearts also, and Mikey Dunn showed up to say love. And Dash mentioned, I love some bi-science, if you will. Amen, glory, hallelujah. It's true. So I also am fascinated by the balance between, like, okay, so I've got a bunch of questions. So first off, like, why bi and not pan? Like, I know I was struggling with that one for a while for myself. Like, so part of me is always like, okay, so why would somebody choose one or the other? I'm kind of curious at this point. But the other part of me is, like, I also wonder within the LGBTQ community, like, I know I have a lot of privilege because I pass as straight, right? And so I wonder, like, there's the invisibility to myself, and that's a real problem around, like, no, I like guys sometimes too. Like, okay. But then there's also, like, knowing that I have privilege, what's my responsibility to the community to also to be invisible sometimes and make sure that it's my trans friends, my agender friends, my 20 years ago, it was my gay male friends who needed the love and support of our community. So I like that's, but at the same time, when we erase ourselves like that, it means that all the people who are going through that quote unquote phase don't realize, no, that just may be who they are. Like, fuck if I know. I don't know. There's a mess there. I don't know if there's a question, but there's a mess.
Yeah, I can speak to that, actually, if that's all right.
Go, yeah.
On toes. So I have a very similar situation to you, whereas we were talking about it in the pre-chat, but I'm a dude. I'm 6'5". I weigh like 270, 280, like, and I was the stereotype kid in high school. Like, I was a jock. I was doing everything I possibly could to try to be the popular kid, and it was one of those situations where I was like 14, right? Which I now understand is like relatively early in life to be experiencing all those things and trying to figure that out. But there was a kid, his name was also Alex. And man, I remember I was on a date with my girlfriend at the time, and this kid walked across the restaurant we were sitting in, and I full on jaw dropped watched this guy walk across the room. And I was like, hold on. No, that's not. Okay. So I remember I went and talked to my guidance counselor at school, because I kind of broached on this a little bit earlier. My family, my parents, my dad and my stepmom specifically have always been the most supportive people on the planet, but the rest of my family outside of that was the type of people that threw slurs around as jokes and always, was very bashing on people for those kinds of things. And I mean, 10 years ago is an extremely common thing, right? Like, support has grown exponentially from there for a lot of people, which is really good, but it didn't have that at the time. So I remember going and talking to my guidance counselor at school, who sat me down and was like, well, are you gay? And I was, no, definitely not. I can verify without a doubt that as a 14-year-old boy, I know I'm not gay, right? I've had those experiences. But then it was like, well, are you curious? Are you bi curious? Are you bisexual? Do you know what's happening? It's like, nope, that's not right either. That can't be true. You know what? This was a fluke. It's fine. And it kind of spiraled from there. But it was a few of my. I was convinced at that point I was straight. It was a fluke of a moment, never going to come up again. And literally, it was the best timing, because 2 days later, one of my greatest friends in high school came to me and was like, "I think that I am lesbian." And I was hoping I could talk to you about that. And I was like, cool. Immediately full support. Was like, you do what you're going to do. I love that you're trusting me with this. I love that you can be who you are. And it was this spiral, right?
Oh,
Of like, who am I? What am I doing? I realize now that I've gotten drastically off the topic that I was supposed to be talking about. So I apologize for that. But I ended up asking a guy on a date from a community theater that I was a part of. And it was this really like stressful thing for me, right? Like I was like, if this goes wrong,
yep.
I've put myself fully out there for this thing. And it's going to blow up, and it's going to be the worst. And so I asked him, and he said yes. He was like, yeah, I would love to go on a date with you. We can go out to dinner, the whole 9 yards. That first relationship that I was in was 2-3 dates long, and it was really good. And it ended in a really shitty, traumatic event. On the third night of that. I won't go into details, obviously, but it was awful and horrifying, and it immediately dissuaded me from any potential of being anything other than a heterosexual dude. And that kind of spiraled and stayed with me for the rest of a lot of my life, for about 8-9 years. And throughout all that time, kind of circling back to the point I was supposed to be talking about, was that same situation where I was a very straight passing guy who was actively trying to live in that role and hiding myself from everything that was going on. And it was moments of me trying to figure out if it was okay for me to talk to my friends. And I did end up coming out to a few close friends of mine that I had met when I first started hanging out Northern Colorado area, who were just super inclusive, super, super kind. And they were the ones that were like, it's okay to be who you are. But at that point, I also met one of my dearest friends, Dash, who's in the chat, who is non-binary. And it shifted my whole perspective of, man, I have had a really shitty experience and I have hid who I was, but this person that I immediately adored has gone through just so much more and has had to hide so much more than me, and has to fight so much more now that they're out and now that they're doing all of these things that are true to who they are. And it shifts your focus of, mine's small fry, right? Like I don't have to deal with any of that. I don't have to deal with any of that hate for being who I am. What do I do? How do I take on that role of trying to keep other people safe and try to help them feel comfortable in those situations? And there's not a real good answer to that, I don't think.
No, but there's a lot of love for it. Lainey Flanagan posted this like 2 minutes into what you were saying. The best teddy bear, Alex. and Dash is Alex, thank you. And yeah, I'm totally with you. In high school there was a this was one of the crushes that I didn't realize was a crush in theater. And it was theater. And definitely a dude that I smooched and because we could flirt and it wasn't anything because I'm straight, you know, so I'm insulated somehow. Like it was just this
Right.
complete fucking, like I literally couldn't wrap my head around it. So I'm totally with you. Dallen, what you got? I know you got thoughts, man.
I have a lot of thoughts. um, Sexuality for me is not, I think, an area where I feel invisible or compelled to talk about invisibility. The only part for me that's a little odd is the LGBT parts of the acronym. T is the only part of the acronym that's not sexuality.
Yes, because
Like,
yes, thank you for
I'm
that. Yep,
transgender,
go go go.
but that has nothing to do with my sexuality. Like, I remember
Yep.
Ted Cruz, Count Chocula looking motherfucker, going, why can't they just keep that in the bedroom? And I was like,
Thank
keep
God I
what
didn't
in the
drink that.
bedroom? Like, what do you think what's that?
I was like, thank goodness I wasn't drinking when you just said vampire name. Okay, go on.
I look like Grandpa Munster. But yeah, like keep it in the bedroom. And I'm like, that shows the baseline ignorance that a lot of people have and choose to keep
Yeah,
about being transgender is it's not a sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
My sexuality, I identify as pansexual, and the reason I identify as pansexual is because it fit for me. And I
yeah.
know it's controversial because of a lot of people who were pansexual initially, the phrase was hearts, not parts, right? And so a lot of transgender people felt very erased by that phrase,
Oh
you know?
shit! I didn't even know that bit of the
Yeah,
history.
yeah. So a lot of people felt very erased because they were like, hearts, not parts. I don't care what your
Yeah,
hearts are. I don't care what your physical body is like. I like your
yeah,
heart,
but when
you
you've
know?
been doing all of the work to reclaim parts for
I've
yourself,
had 4
that,
surgeries.
yeah,
Like, yeah, my parts matter. So
yeah,
so I understand from that perspective, but I'm just kind of attached to the term pansexual. Like, but
yeah,
I'm willing to have that discussion. Like, I'm willing to have that conversation where no, I'm not one of the hearts, not parts people. It's just how I choose to identify, you know. But for me, invisibility is really not tied to my sexuality, and it's not really tied to my transgender identity because I'm kind of hyper visible. Like, I take on hyper visibility because I'm out. I'm definitely transmasculine. I'm not non binary. I use male pronouns. I do my best to present as masculine. So I'm fairly comfortable in that. Um, where I feel really invisible a lot of times is like my last name is Delgado, and I speak Spanish. And my family are from Cuernavaca, Mexico. Uh, I am by far, other than my grandmother, the lightest member of my family. Um, they are all
oh,
dark skinned Latinos. And like with my dad, he passed when I was about 13. But I would see, like, the police would stop us when we were driving around in the car, or my uncles, the police would stop us at random. And we weren't doing anything wrong. They would just stop us. And it was because my family all looked very Latino, and I don't. But I
yeah,
have that same, like, almost phobia of the police because I was so young. I was, from the time I was 2 or 3 years old that I could remember, like, I watched my father be handcuffed, like hogtied with handcuffs in our front yard by the police.
oh,
So I have all this police trauma and all this, like, I have chills because Teresa, I understand it on that level. I do. Like, I understand it on that visceral fear level, but I don't look like I should. You know, you know what I mean? Like, so
It
the
is
yeah,
right up there
invisibility,
with you don't know a person until you get to know a person. Everybody's had their struggles.
yeah. So the invisibility I cope with is being white passing, but being a person of color who's white passing, and then when do I step in to a space and go, well, I'm white passing, but I'm actually a person of color, you know?
Mm.
And I tend to not do that very much anymore. I just kind of go, I'm white, my experiences are valid, that's great, but I don't walk through my life as an obvious person of color. So I tend to yield the floor to people who are darker than me, for lack of a better phrase. But yeah, that's part of the invisibility I grapple with. When I was younger, when I was in my 20s, I used to get really mad. I used to get
Mm.
really mad when people assumed that I was white or that I didn't know what the experience of people of color was, because boy, I have stories,
Yeah.
like, and I grew up in Dallas. My uncle, like I had three like degreed professionals in my family, so my family are all very proud to be where they are. But like my uncle lived in Valley Ranch. Like he and his wife, that was where they wanted to live. And that's a very affluent area of the Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex. They got into an argument and she kicked him out of the car one night to walk home. So he was walking home and the police stopped him. And he was like, I'm walking home. I live right over here. They handcuffed him. They, beat his ass, put him in a cop car, took him down to county. We had to go at like 2 a.m. and go pick him up. And my grandmother told the person that was there, like, that is where he lives. His address is on his license. And they were like, oh, you can go. And sent him home. So I watched all that crap happen. And it's so frustrating. Like, yeah. So that I think is most of the invisibility that I cope with. Because, like I said, being transgender, I'm hypervisible, and I don't care, not one shred, if people like me or agree that being transgender is valid or any of that at this point in my life. It's about me and my reality. So being trans is not an issue for me. It's an issue for everyone else, but it's not an issue for me.
So
Thank you for, yeah.
I wanted to make a comment, but before we do that, Mikey had a question. Can guests speak to the different internal and external forces of cloaking oneself or one's identity, peacekeeping internal to hyper specializing, exorcism? That's a word I've never heard of. For
Exoticism.
example, yeah,
Exoticism. Yeah.
that's a, that,
Peacekeeping internally and to hyper specializing in exoticism, for example. Like
exoticism.
I mean, to what degree do identities under pressure end up becoming fetishes or like I love this question. There's a
Wow.
lot here. Feel free to talk to any part of this question because we can put it back up here if you need a refresher. That's beautiful, Mikey.
Yep.
Love it. Teresa and I
We just did it again.
we just did it. All right, who wants to talk to some part of that cloaking or the hyper specializing or go. There's a lot there, man.
There is a lot to unpack. Yeah, there is. I think for me, the thing that I might grapple with there, like I said, I don't cloak, I don't hide myself at all. The thing that I might grapple with, I think, is fetishization. I'm in an open relationship. My partner and I are poly, but I don't tend to put myself out there to date very much because I worry about the fetishization piece. I don't want to have to deal with the the crap that goes along with being a transgender guy, where guys will fetishize me because they can, be with me and not be gay.
Yep.
That's a thing that happens. And so it's
So
like,
there's that, and you mentioned poly, but there's another bit of invisibility there because a lot of my friends who are polyamorous or other varieties of poly, they're with a partner, but have the relationship open, and it becomes the variety in their life becomes invisible because people can look at that partnership and say, that's a thing. This at least makes sense. This, all right, there we go. They're conforming to what should be in the great laws that were written down by our forebears.
Yeah. I wear a wedding band,
Well, yeah, and like, yeah, go. Y'all got things to say. Go.
I think there's a lot to be said. There's something here about passing, which I think there isn't anyone on earth, maybe I'm exaggerating this, that doesn't like pass on some level as something that maybe we don't feel like we are, or that isn't totally accurate. And and that's like, goes back to what I was saying earlier about how you can make a choice to do this on purpose. I think, I mean, you mentioned code switching earlier too in your chat with Teresa, which I think is also like a conscious form of passing. I mean, so it's like a choice that you can make, and it can be a privilege for sure to be able to like not draw attention to yourself in a way that you don't want, or not draw attention to something that might be controversial about yourself, but at the same time, like,
just the days when I don't want to deal with it.
Right. But
Yeah.
then there's also a level of like, wow, no one I work with actually knows, what my life is like. or feeling like then you have to censor yourself about the gender of your partner, or the fact that you have more than one partner, or your your family's like background, or like any of that stuff. So it's a really complex topic. That's a hard question to answer succinctly, for sure.
Yeah. I guess I maybe feel like I should at sometimes hide parts of myself, but I never do. Like, it's gotten me into trouble. Like, I've gotten into fights, verbal altercations, because I don't. So, the whole invisibility topic is kind of strange for me because I spend so much time hypervisible. But the thing that you said that really struck me is some days I just want to be a fucking person going to the grocery store,
Yep.
I don't want to be a trans guy, standing up for trans people and doing transy McTrans things,
Transy McTrans.
I just want to go, buy a pound of hamburger and come home,
The trans agenda. Buy some hamburger and go home.
Right. Buy hamburger.
I just want to put up this comment from Megan. I'm learning a lot with this. Thank you for sharing your stories.
And Megan, thank you for showing up and commenting too. I don't know about anybody else on here, but this is the kind of conversation I know I don't see enough of like the amount of variety that's on the screen with just 5 people right now is pretty fucking tremendous, and I love it. So
I was gonna comment in the sense that it's so funny because I was like, I'll be honest with you, when this whole topic of invisibility came up, I was just like, is that like the invisible man? I really didn't know what I was like. You go with this, Royce. This is all you. This is gonna be you.
well,
But
yeah, okay,
yeah,
go.
but I was gonna say, when I started Pride and Equality, now, God, I think it's almost like 18, 19 years ago. 20. After he's 20. I it was interesting, the articles that we would write. It was mostly focused on gay and lesbian, because when I would have a discussion, and this is something that Kelly mentioned of, I don't know why we seem to be invisible. When I would mention, okay, what about the bi? And what about transgender? When it came to bisexuals, the comments I mostly got from the community were they felt that it was a sense of like having your cake and eating it too. Yep. It was like you trying to figure out what you really liked before you actually came to a decision. And then the other one was this sense of... So
it's still stuck in the binary, by the way.
Yeah. And then this other sense of, if you're bi, you cannot really be... If it came to being in a monogamous relationship, you never could be. There's no way that you could be seen as that person that would be serious in a relationship when you found somebody. So it's interesting over the years that we've been doing articles and writing and geez, the terms just, I'm amazed. Like I'm still learning. When Pan came out, because my goddaughter presented herself as Pan. And I was just like, I literally have no idea what that is. And she explained it to me. And it, for me, it seemed to become this sense of, you could label who you are, but I was seeing it as a sense of like, this is going to become a moment that is just no labels, that it's just going to be like, this is who I am. And if you don't like it, then whatever. So I am glad. I am glad that you set this up, Royce, because this is now, I'm going to have to do a whole article on this. I'm going to have to do a whole article on this.
Those are really interesting things that you bring up too, because you were saying these articles are being written, 15, 20 years ago or whatever, I believe is what you said. I don't want to overestimate it, but that's stuff that I heard last week, right?
See,
Like I came out just shy of a year ago publicly. And the first and foremost thing that I noticed was my friends list on Facebook that I never trim because I'm a lazy piece of shit like that never decides to do those things, cut itself in half. So it did a lot of the work for me. And then I got messages from people from all throughout my life and different times that I've met them that ask all sorts of questions. And the two biggest ones and the two most common ones were, one, don't you have a girlfriend? Which at the time I didn't, which made that, its own thing. But the other one and the bigger one was, what? No, you're not. Haven't you dated girls your whole life? And it was like, well, you're not wrong. You're stating facts that I have in fact dated women for my entire dating career. But there's a fun thing that you should understand here is that you don't have to date outside of, you don't have to date both genders to be someone that is bisexual, right? Mm-hmm. And that was such a foreign concept to so many people that it was, you can't be anything other than straight if you've never dated anyone outside of what heterosexuality would be to you.
Oh, gatekeeping. Yay. Let's do it.
But do they stop being straight when they're single?
Right.
Like, what is that then?
So you're straight until, you're not straight until you have your first sexual experience.
I would just like to say I'm actually happy that I'm part of this group as not the black woman. I'm the straight one. This is so great. I'm like on a show that I'm like, oh my god, it's not because I'm black. I'm like straight. Yeah, I'm strictly dickly. Like I couldn't even imagine thinking of. I mean, I could look at the beauty of a woman, but oh no. No, I can't.
All right, so Alex, my favorite part about my first post when I came out as bi a couple years ago was one of my crushes posting on there and me just like, you have no idea I was picturing you while posting this.
Oh man.
I had literally
let me slide into those DMs, buddy.
I had literally such a similar experience to that. So I posted that. I posted I was bi. I was like, look, guys, a lot of people are going to hate this, but fuck it. I'm bisexual. That's the truth. And I'm here to live it. Right. And the second guy I ever had a crush on in my entire life messaged me and was like, man, you should have come out earlier in life.
Oh, no.
And I was like,
wow.
Okay, cool.
Glad.
Cool.
Thanks for that.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, let's catch up on some wonderful comments here. Okay, so Nicola mentioned linguistically it would be polyphilia or multiamory, but hey, we're finally legal in Boston. I didn't know about that.
Wow.
Way to go, Massachusetts. And Vivian mentioned, speaking of linguistics, I think what's really happening here is Vivian and Nicola are solving the world's problems. But anyway.
Accurate.
Speaking of linguistics, how has vocabulary influenced your personal feelings of invisibility? I think that's the question we need to come back to, but there's more comments before we get back to it. Dash mentioned, God, Dallen, the vibe of wanting to be a person and not just a trans trademark. Yep. Yeah. And somehow that replaces person too, that this becomes the totality of your identity.
Absolutely. And I just want to throw something in here, and it's people who mean well, and I love these people.
Yep.
But you'll have even just memes that come around on Facebook that are like, what's one thing you like about me, or what's one thing you know about me, or what's one thing you assume about me, or and 90% of it is you're so brave because you're trans. And I'm like, there is so much more to my personality than that. but I don't know how much of that other stuff people see, because that's mostly what I hear. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm really so happy to hear you say that. I mean, we had Bunny on the show, and Bunny's kind of like my guru with anything when it comes to the trans community. But the one thing I kept thinking was, is that is it wrong to ask, like, do you just not want to be essentially the token trans person? Like, okay, well, I know a trans person. It's that guy right there. Like, that's all you always are.
I don't mind it. I don't mind it most of the time. But sometimes, like I said, when it's my friends or when we're in a discussion and literally what I hear is, you're so brave because you're trans and not anything else about me. I'm like, how much else do people know
You
about
really
me?
know
You what
about
I
you.
mean?
Yeah.
Right.
What's brave? So I'm sitting here hearing this. I'm like, the reason I think you're brave is that you, like when I met you, you had apparently only transitioned a few months before that. That was your first trip across country, and I had no fucking clue. Like what I saw was this person who was like, you were just living life large and loud. That's what's brave to me about you.
I appreciate that, and I never want to seem ungrateful or like I don't appreciate that people think I'm brave. But I've told people I don't have a choice, and I really don't. Like, I can be in an airport and scared absolutely shitless, and I was having to go through TSA, and I did go through situations where they were like, sir? Like, oh, I guess I don't have a penis. Can I go through the scanner, please? Like, so I went through those situations, but I don't have a choice to not. So it's not bravery, it's just pragmatic. I'm pragmatic about it in that I'm in El Paso. I need to get to New Mexico. I just have to go through this crap and it'll be over. And I'll be with my friends and decompress and just do that. So
And we'll dress funny and whack each other with foam swords.
Yes, exactly. So I appreciate the bravery aspect, but I don't feel brave. I just feel like I'm living my life and I have to do some difficult things.
I guess I just appreciate you. Inspire me. I think that's part of what I'm saying.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're. It's not the trans part of you. It's the way you have chosen to be counterphobic about the way you handle it. And it resonates. So, yeah. Oh, sorry, you have. Sorry, Teresa. So y'all don't know this, but I didn't used to have access to this, and so. But then there was a show a while back where I had to host without Teresa, and I had to learn all the things, and so now I'm in here permanently, I guess, and so now we both click.
I'm trying to do my job. Okay,
I'm sorry. You're going.
Take away Royce's keys.
Or is
Please
everyone poly when they're single? Yes, that was
Everyone.
So, y'all let's talk about that.
Yeah.
And next.
Yeah, and that you are so right. Can't imagine messaging someone to tell them they're wrong about their own life. I'm so sorry people did that to you, Alex. And that,
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's, I appreciate the sentiment. I really, truly do. It's one of those things that was like, I dealt with that for a month, right? I dealt with that for 2 months. And then it was over. People got over it. It was how it is.
Or they moved on.
Or they moved on. Or what? They weren't bothering me at that point, right? And it's shitty, but like that's part of like the privilege you and I were talking about earlier, right? Is like it's over now. I don't have to deal with that anymore. I have friends that are the most, I hate to use the phrasing like this, but like the most stereotypically gay guys out there. The very overly flamboyant type of guys that they know who they are. Exactly. And it's like a few Teresa and Kelly, you wouldn't know this, but Royce and Dallen have seen it to an extent. I'm not the type of person that lets stuff get to me when it comes to people posting things or commenting things, whatever. But man, the moment you say something about somebody that I care about or somebody that is my friend, you have unleashed something that you will likely run from in terror.
Seriously, that's like the ghetto side. That's what the ghetto side. That's what it is. It's like, please try me. Let's go there. Try me.
That's like, and it's, you know, somebody said earlier, it was like, Alex is such a big teddy bear, and it's like, you're right, like I am, but you know, there are times when being a dude my size and presenting as a dude my size, I will take that I have been blessed with in that regard, and I will throw it at the brick wall of stupidity that exists in the world.
This is my privilege. Okay, this is what I'm gonna do with it.
Right, exactly.
Right.
So Haley just wants to give love.
Yep.
We got here. This is awesome. I appreciate the insight into all of your different experiences. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Dar.
This is why I love this show.
So let's go out on this one, because I know we're past time here. Thank you guys for all being patient.
I can
yeah.
for hours.
Thank you.
So Vivian and Dallen and I have talked for hours about like so
Everything,
another crossover moment for those of you who are tuning in. Dallen and I talked for my podcast, Killing the Great White Male. Check that one out. God, what was the book that we read?
It was Daring Greatly, Brene Brown.
Oh yeah. Oh, that was last summer. God, that was
about a year ago almost. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that was a great conversation. Anyway,
It was an amazing talk.
Okay. Vivian mentioned, speaking of linguistics, how has vocabulary influenced your personal feelings of invisibility? So who wants to talk about that? Like vocabulary, what is that? What's important about that around invisibility?
I mean, initially I would say probably pronouns. Pronouns are part of a vocabulary. And for me, the time that I most often have problems with pronouns is at a drive-through speaker or on the phone. Because my voice is either, a lot of people who are on hormones call it the queer voice, because like our voices tend to kind of level out at this weird, like inexplicable kind of level. So when I'm on the phone with people or I'm at the drive-through, sometimes I get called ma'am or hun or, something like that. And that immediately, like I have about a 10-second like flash of like sweating and like, oh God, I just got called she or whatever, So that kind of vocabulary, I think, would be what affects me. But other than that, that's just what comes to mind first.
I can't wait. Like I was in a little rant with somebody else on Facebook today about the death of adverbs. Right. Because you posted on that one too. Yeah. And I grieve the death of the adverb because my dad beat it into me that, Lee, you're going quick. Lee, there's an adverb describing how. Like that was the phrase, like literally. Okay. But like, I am looking forward to the death of masculine and feminine pronouns. Like they're going to die. This is the fucking English language. It's a dumb fucking construction. We have no other goddamn thing in this stupid fucking language that is gendered. Why the fuck are we holding on to this? Okay, fuck that. Let it die. Kill it with fire. Because
I could go a whole hour without a Royce rant.
Oh God, sorry. You titled them Royce rants too, if I remember correctly. Was that from that show? Oh my God. Okay, sorry. Anyway, go y'all. Rant complete. No, it was beautiful. It was perfect.
It's like the nerd cred in this room has notched up for arguing about adverbs.
Yeah, and Nicola, y'all equals ustedes. Why don't we teach that? Amen. Amen.
Oh goodness.
I can speak to the vocabulary piece from a different
go
objective side. I've talked a lot. I'm really sorry for hogging airtime here.
Oh, please don't be
sorry. So for me, vocabulary has been honestly the hardest part I spoke about how much I've changed over the last few years.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, everybody in this chat, as far as perspective, a lot of my friends that I speak to on a daily basis have only known me for 4 or 5 years. And my life was entirely different before that. When I said that I was a stereotypical high school dude, I meant it in every capacity. I was the worst of the fucking worst. Sorry, that language is atrocious.
You forget Royce is on the show.
That's true.
There are certain conditions that when I get hired for something, there are 2 writers. Number 1, I will drop an F-bomb in the first 30 seconds. If you can't handle it. Yeah. All right. Number 2, if you want me in a suit and tie, it'll cost you $20,000 a day.
I love it.
And because if you're going to pay me $20,000 a day, I can go buy a different suit for every hour of that fucking day and enjoy it. And it'll be fun and they will be pink. But anyway, go
Alex. I've never agreed with a statement more than I did with that. That is amazing. But no, so vocabulary for me was I was awful, right? And I look back on that, and it's not an exaggeration. I was everything that I fight against now.
Yep.
I was the person that used gay as an insult. I was the person that used slurs, used those kinds of things to an extent, right? There was lines that people shouldn't cross, and I understood that. And I've always been a good person. I always felt like I was doing good things, but it was one of those transitions for me where, honest to goodness, I got out of my parents' house and I started hanging out with this group of friends, the same ones that I came out to first, and it was this whole different shift in me that, oh man, I think the first time we were hanging out, I let slip, and I was like, wow, that was really gay. And one of them just turned to me and was like, thank you. It really was. I was like, wait, hold on. And my brain exploded because I didn't know, I didn't realize that could be a good thing in my brain. Like, I've never been against, anything, right? Like, I've always supported people living their lives, and I've always tried to be supportive in that sense. But it was the shifting of my own vocabulary that was hardest for me.
Because there's a reflection there on our brain and our thinking. Because it's like, well, as long as you don't say these 2 no words, the F one and the N one, you can be a good person. When really the transition is away from that toward how can I always ensure that my language is positive for those hearing it? Instead of not the no's, but instead, how do I inspire love and kindness in those that I'm with? That's the shift to me. That's killing the great white male. That's moving away from this notion that my freedom is good as long as I don't say these 2 words. I love what you just articulated. You fucking clicked something in me. Sorry.
No, that's 100% it though, right? Is if you are looking inside of yourself and you're looking at things, for me, it was people just being brutally honest and was like, that's not okay to use in that way. And it's come from where I used gay as an insult, just like every other 16-year-old guy did for a period of their time, to where now I will see my friends post something on Facebook that's super adorable, and I'm like, that's the gayest shit I've ever seen in my life. It's amazing. And it's just become this sort of like just acknowledged thing of like, it's just this beautiful, positive thing to throw around. And that's the most important thing that's happened to me, honestly, was just learning how to do those kinds of things in a positive way.
I love it.
I think that's a little bit of a generational thing, the that's gay, because like I came from people saying that gay is an insult to kind of like I guess like millennial era people going, oh my God, you 2 are so gay, as like you're a really adorable couple.
I love you and I ship you.
Yeah, you're so gay, and I have a split second of like, what? And then it's like, oh, okay, that's a good thing.
The Gen X brain hears it and goes,
right, the Gen X brain is like, you gotta go?
I want to catch these hands, motherfucker.
Right. But then it's like, oh no, they mean it in a good way, because they have like the little pink hash marks on your cheeks. Like,
Well, so
It's
for a while
great.
there.
I love up and coming generations. They're amazing.
Oh, thank God for the Zennials. That right there was one of the. I play World of Warcraft, and Eve Online is. Yeah, I'm playing that now too. Like I play online. I do online gaming, and that's where a lot of this shit gets played out. And so for like the longest time, and I could speed type it, was the longest time I would just throw down with gay like happy and cheery or gay like you're a bigot. You make the choice, motherfucker, because like it's totally okay if you meant gay like happy and cheery. I'm totally with you. This is very gay. This is beautifully gay, and I'm down with it. But if you meant like you're a bigot, you can fuck right off.
Yep.
You choose, buddy. It's up to you. And people get so fucking like white fragility, man. Holy fuck. Straight fragility. Kelly, you got the last word. I hope it's a good one.
I got the last word like of the whole show.
We should do that. Although
Or are we?
Okay,
or are we talking about the vocabulary thing still?
Oh no, you're doing the whole show.
I lost where we are.
So
No,
let's touch on
You
Annette.
trust me with that power.
I do. Annette's saying rent complete is the only real transition. I loved that. That was hilarious. You're taking us out, Kelly.
I'm taking us out. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. For more.
Yes, Kelly.
Rant completes. and good conversations. And fun people. And also my brother Mikey should come on the show. He's been called out. He's been summoned, Mikey.
I didn't even put that together.
Seriously, the last name's done. And like showing. Oh, come on, Royce.
I'm claiming him. He's mine. Actually, he's not. He belongs to no one. I don't know how to end all of this. This has been so much. I think everyone here is awesome, and I'm honored to be in your presence, and happy to have taken off our invisibility cloaks to be seen with you guys. That's all I got.
Wow. Thank you, everyone, for coming on, sharing your experiences.
Thank you for having me.
Shoot, I even learned some stuff. I like learning things. The more you know. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. So, yeah, I'm going to send you all back. Thank you for coming. And I'll be in touch because, yeah, I'm going to have you guys for the magazine. I'm telling you right now.
Thank you so much for having us. It's been amazing.
But
It's been fun.
Yay, now I know this show was about invisible people.
Well, that too, but like that's a whole different like let's acknowledge too that we're riffing off like one of the Ralph Ellison, is that the name
of the guy who wrote the
the Invisible Man?
I believe so.
Yeah, like just and his perspective writing as someone who is not considered human, as a black man. So like yeah. And I love the fact that Kelly did she hit all the things.
Yeah.
I was like, yes. Oh my God.
So I would just like to bring up that it probably will end up being an episode. Brothers and sisters. Yeah.
I love that. That would be amazing.
They would do real well on that. So yeah, Mikey's been called out. So yeah, he's gonna have to
laughing at our asses. I love it.
Yeah, we got here Ted and Nicola, Kelly and Mikey. It's so odd. We'll just let him take over the show. We'll take a day off.
No, we'll make it a game show.
Who knows their brother or sister better?
See what I mean? Like that'll be yes. I love it.
I love that. And of course, Mikey says, "Thank you for sharing and speaking all the love."
Yeah, I think that was the thing that welled up while Kelly was rapping, was just like, yeah, how much I appreciate the space that people choose to participate in. Yeah, this has been amazing. Thank you guys for sharing your stories. Thank you, Haley, for that and for showing up for it.
And of course, Ted, that's hilarious and so real.
All right, but did you skip the Modesto comment?
I did, and I'm going back.
Oh yeah, there we go. This is so fucking hilarious to me because the part of this crew grew up in Modesto. I grew up in Lodi, which is another like little tiny town in the Valley of California. Anyway, there's a lot there. And much
Obviously,
therapy.
it's going to have to be a part of the game show. That's just what that's going to have to be a part of.
Indeed.
And so I will extend what Kellie had said. Girl, good. But yes, please share with friends, share with family. We are five people still. 5 away from 100 subscribers. We would really like to reach that. And so, yes, please tell your friends and family to subscribe to Where's Your Heart today. Click on that subscription button and take part in the discussions with us every Monday and hit the notification bell so you know when we go live. And I would also like to remind you that we only have, 4 episodes left before it is the end of the season, and we go on break until August. So, there's that.
Up. And also, if you have favorite episodes that you want to vote for us to do as reruns this summer, let us know. We're considering a bunch of different formats for our break this time. So, if you have thoughts,
reruns.
Yeah, I mean, or best of. If you have favorite moments that you're like, this 2 minutes right here is hilarious. Okay, there you go. And we do, I think, have to go out on Nicola's last comment there. Laugh, cry. That's pretty much this entire show. There you go.
Yeah. That or wash hands.
Or wash hands. Wash hands while clapping.
Wash hands.
All right.
Oh, goodness. Well, thank you for coming out again on another Monday for Where's Your Heart. We will be back, as always, next week.
Championing vulnerability.
As a core human strength.
It's a thing.
Say goodnight, Royce.
Good night, Royce.
Thank you, everyone.